Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhallow today, where we're chilling, relaxing as usual. Should we have an update? What's happening on my phone and my other delivery? I don't know. Let's see. Annoyingly, I did it from 2 different email accounts, but like whatever. I mean, to be fair, I did the Google one from my old email account because I was like, this is where I bought all my other Google stuff. Maybe that spell will give me support. The answer is no, they won't. And with this one, to be fair, this other one I only sent the email off yesterday. So that one I'm like more forgiving if they don't immediately respond. Google though, you're very nice. Good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 10:52 PM on Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess like if it comes to Thursday again, I'm gonna send another email being like, hey, come on. Like, this is crazy. What's going on? But anyway, what should we talk about? Good question. I saw there was a new trailer for Crowd Control, which is a dropout show. Basically, it's sort of like a sort of crowd work for show. Which, you know, crowd work is a fun part of comedy shows. You might be like, why are you saying that? Have you been to comedy shows? And the answer is yes. I've been to quite a few. Mainly, like, none of them I think were like me being like, let's go to a comedy show. But all my friends being like, hey, let's go to a comedy show. And I was like, sure. I think I've enjoyed all of them. Like, which might sound a bit strange coming from me of how I think little I sort of audibly like laugh at funny moments, right? Or maybe I do, I don't know. Doesn't mean I don't find things funny. I think it kind of depends. I think, weirdly, I'm sort of reflecting upon it. It's more about the exuding of the charisma of the person on stage, more so than the actual content of the joke, which I find funny. Which, I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense to me. I don't even know if that's true. I might just lie to you. But yeah. That wasn't really what I was going to talk about, to be honest, but it's, I don't know what to talk about, to be honest. I was just sort of thinking, like, am I going to talk about crowd work? No, I don't really know about anything about stand-up comedy. And plus, crowd work's not that common a thing, you know, once you get to like the really big stages, like, you know, when you're like live at the Apollo or something big, right? Because you just kind of can't. But thinking about it, I wonder why the UK has such like a big comedy scene. I'm sure other countries also have like the comedy scenes and big ones, but is UK one of the bigger ones? I don't know. Just sort of like proportionally. I think it's because we have a lot of panel shows which sort of facilitate, a platform for it, rather than necessarily celebrities who maybe aren't known for being entertaining as much going on panel shows. It's not like the celebrities are not entertaining, but it kind of depends on the celebrity, right? Well, for panel shows, comedians are literally there to entertain. I don't know, British panel shows. I mean, the Japanese game shows, so I assume Japan's got a pretty decent sized one as well. I'm not sure. You ever think about this? Or this different, like, culture which is in different countries, but of course you'll never, like, experience it in the same way about people growing up in the country world, because one, you don't understand language, and two, you weren't brought up with that culture. I mean, that's just kind of the way things are, to be honest. Kind of like, you know, cultural exchanges, I suppose, in a way where you can, if you love something, you can share it with people. But it's like, it's what to think about, because I don't know, maybe like Brazil's got like an absolutely popping comedy scene. But I don't know Portuguese. I was raised in Brazil, so I've got no idea what that would even entail, nor even where to start looking. It's not like me being like, I'm gonna start looking into the Brazilian comedy scene or something. It's just sort of like a theoretical thing. You never know. Like even random countries that like you don't really think about all too often. And maybe Guatemala's got a crazy comedy scene, proportionally to its size as well. Or it's like really on the up and up. I truly have no idea. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? I watched a video. It was by Saberspark, who does these videos normally covering like animations and stuff, but half the time, like I would say his videos are just sort of like, this is the worst cartoon I've ever seen sort of thing. So I don't really watch them. I normally just watch them for media properties I know, but I saw like he made one about worms fighting herds, and it sort of brought me back all over again to the entire story. of fighting herds. A very sad one, in extent. If you don't know, the TLDR, Bum's Fighting Herd, it started out as a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fighting game. It blew up in popularity, so big in fact that Hasbro ceased and desisted it after a while, so they couldn't release a final version. Then Lauren Faust, the original creator, I suppose, of this generation of My Little Pony, which got so popular, made custom, like, new characters for them. They made the game, and it was, you know, a roller coaster of emotions. Certainly because it was quite an ambitious game that they ended up making. And it was like a lot of their like first games, I think, together. And then they released, it was a slow progress, and then they started running out of money, and then they got bought by a studio, and then it was like, okay, the studio, it was like, okay, we'll have like a, what's it called, like a fighter pass or something. But they'd released like 4 characters for it, and then the studio was like, psych, when you're just in the final process of doing character 3 and character 4, we're gonna fire everyone. And that's basically the story in a nutshell. Very tragic situation, but I got reminded of it all over again. Watching the video, being like, I can't believe, you know, in another life, we'd have a complete Bum's Fighting Herds game. But that would be in another life. I mean, in another life, perhaps we'd have the finished Fighting as Magic, and it was released before Hasbro could cease and desist them. That sort of thing brings me back. I mean, I feel like maybe I'm on like nostalgia trips recently. Bum's Fighting Herds, big nostalgia trip. Homestuck, big nostalgia trip as well. Sort of going through that. I think the Homestuck one's very weird to see from my perspective, because it's kind of like the first time I've been like, whoa, hold on a minute. This is actually genuinely something nostalgic for me. Am I becoming old? And the answer is, of course not. You know, I'm still like pretty young in the grand scheme of things, but I think it's like the first step of not becoming old, but being like more aware that I'm like a decent ways into my, not a decent ways, but like some length into my adult years now. It's just kind of almost weird to think about in a way. Not in a bad way, just like sort of surprising. Because it truly was just sort of like hit with nostalgia when I saw, wow, they're animating it. Like must be what people, you know, maybe like 8 years older than me felt like when they rebooted Animaniacs or something like that. Like I didn't grow up in Animaniacs. It was something I discovered like in my preteens or teens or something. I didn't even watch most of it. I just like the songs. I can't imagine the way when I'm like almost late 30s or something, and we're like, we're bringing back My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Generation 8, it's actually Generation 4 revived. That's going to be a nostalgic hit where I'm going to be like, what? Is that going to happen? I almost guarantee that's going to happen, watch your space, because Hasbro, you know, they're still like a studio driven by profit at the end of the day. No way they, well, I don't know, maybe they don't want to sort of poke out hornets nest again, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring back the most successful generation to try and sort of revitalise it. And it probably won't have the same peak appeal as back then, as they're tapping into a nostalgia crowd. But yeah, I mean, I guess Neopets is kind of like that as well, but I don't know, maybe Neopets hasn't, I think it's because Neopets hasn't hit the same stride, I suppose, as maybe Homestuck might do. Finding out all cups going on in Neopets. I was just thinking, I was like, I haven't checked it out for ages. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, I guess the Outdoor Cup's going on. I normally support Terra Mountain, if that's how it works. But I will be honest, Outdoor Cup is so insanely like time consuming that there's no way. If I'm going to do anything time consuming nowadays, it's going to be Uma Musume. You might be like, how's it going with that? I built my provisional characters, my Narita Taishin, my gold chip, and my evil nature. Right now I'm basically trying to make better sparks for them, so I'm trying to get like a Daiki Shuttle 3-star spark. And hopefully with that, I can actually, I don't know, start making Taiki Shuttle, 3-star Spark, and then try and make a, I don't know, combine it with Marozensky to try and make a 3-star Spark Rudolph. If not, then I will try and separately make a Ugly Cat 3-star Spark, combine them together, Rudolph, use a Rudolph with the Taiki into Medulla Orion. Boom, Medulla Orion, Rudolph. But it's not really about the 3-star Sparks. If anything, it's about all the other Sparks. It actually ends up being a lot more important than 3-star Pink Sparks or whatever. Blue Sparks. Anyway, we're not diving too deep into Uma Musume chat here. But yeah, my friends, I think they're starting or started to read Homestuck, and it's got me so tempted to read Homestuck again. I'm like, Homestuck is insanely long. I cannot even emphasize how much of a commitment it would be to read Homestuck again. I do kind of want to do it, because part of me just kind of want to see, like, did it live up to what I remember it as? And the honest answer is, I don't think it will, to be honest, but I think the reason I liked it so much was because of the world building thoughts. So yeah. It was definitely it's interesting, because my friend also like sent me just like the list of, not the list, but like a screenshot of like the trigger warning list in Homestuck, and I was like, whoa, I don't remember a lot of these being in Homestuck. Like some of them I do remember, like death. There's a lot of like people dying, characters dying in Homestuck, and I was like, okay, I do remember these. And then I looked at a lot of the others, and I was like, well, I genuinely don't remember when on earth this happens, which makes me sort of like reflect and be like, I must imagine Homestuck has a very different thing in my mind. Like it has slurs in it, and I was like, I don't remember, but probably it does. Misogyny and sexism is part of it. I remember, and if it is the part I remember, it's from a character who is just a horrible, horrible person. So I guess, like, you know, it's about fat phobia. I have no idea. I don't even remember about alcohol abuse. I think I remember drug abuse, maybe. Major and minor character deaths. That's more obvious. Parental death, animal death, child death. Those I remember. Body horror. Kind of remember. Torture. I don't remember eye mutilation. Oh no, I do remember eye mutilation. There's things I don't even think about. It's a thing I actually said to my friend. It was like, because I think Homestuck, a lot of it sort of, maybe it's not desensitized necessarily, but it's sort of like you look at it, but it doesn't feel like it has the same impact of what the actual content is, because it's all drawn in MS Paint. They're all like very cartoony characters, and you know, dying in horrific ways and in some aspects. And it's sort of like, if that was obviously real life, you'd be like, this is horrifying. But because it has this veneer of being MS Paint cartoon, it sort of just not loses impact per se, but it's more like it's obfuscated the grotesqueness of it. And that's something interesting to think about, because it's like, stories can be told in many ways, and I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do it. I think I spoke to Chris about this before, when I was like, the impact of certain like things, like death or whatever, in media properties didn't hit me as much when I was a teenager, because I don't think I understood it like fully. Like, I understood conceptually what death was, but like it didn't impact me enough because I didn't experience like someone dying or anything like that. There was never nothing to draw upon. But now as I'm older, you know, now as I'm more aware of it, more aware of like bad things, I suppose, one way or another, those story points in media properties hit harder, I think, or good for a good reason, in a good way, because that now they're having the impact I think they so desire. But it's interesting to think about. And I think MS Paint, I don't know if it's a combination of maybe I read it as a teenager and then a lot of it just not, it like went over my head, but it was just like, oh, this character dies, you know, I don't even think about it. But now if I read it, I'd be like, this character was literally 13 years old and he like died or something. Would be thinking about that in the context of reality feels a lot more heartbreaking. Maybe it's just I engage with media in a different way now. But it's interesting to think about. And that's, you know, an even bigger reason to read Homesick again, because I'm just like, maybe I'll look at my characters in a very different light. Like, I remember the characters I thought were really cool. And like, I remember one of my favourite characters was definitively like a bad character who went through some very interesting character growth until a lot of it was undone, but you know, let's not talk about that. Was genuinely a very engaging character in my mind, but maybe now if I read it, I would just be like, wait, no, hold on, like, she might be an interesting character, but she's so horrible that like it overrides anything, which makes it interesting. I don't know. Yeah, again, Elena is also my favourite character in Spiritfarer, so who knows. But yeah, I think it's interesting how this representation of things can sort of really vary in these presentations of media properties and your own understanding of them. Because another thing I was thinking of is, I don't know why this came to mind, but like, you can have like a cutesy veneer and terrible things happen, and they can either lose or gain impact, I suppose, one way or another. I think Digital Circus actually might be a good representation of that, because it has such a sort of like retro, cartoony vibe, right? But then some pretty brutal things end up happening, and it's a sort of like a I have no mouth but I must scream situation. But because I'm watching it now as an adult, whoa, I have no idea what happened in my chair there. It has that impact maybe. But what if I watched it as a teenager? Would I feel the same way? Would I relate to the characters in the same way? Well, to be fair, I don't think I actually relate too much to a lot of the Digital Circus characters, but I like their stories. I like sympathize with, like I understand. But like, if I watched it as a teenager, would that be the case? I don't know. I'm so curious now. Like, if I could time travel and only use it for a completely selfish, completely pointless venture, which would have no bearing on my life, that'd be an interesting thing. Take the entire finished, like, series, Digital Circus, give it to me when I was like 12. And the 12-year-old me gives me Homestuck to read. We do an exchange. I just want to see how my thought process would be different watching them at different times in my life, you know? Because I'm sure I would ingest it differently in a way. I would digest it in a different way. Maybe I'd even have a different favourite character. Or maybe I wouldn't have the same favourite character. I don't know. That's what makes it so interesting. In my mind, at least. What, I guess your own opinions can change over time? Yeah. I guess so. Anyway, I think right now I'm going to round this episode off here. I'm also going to go record a Happy in Paradise episode because I'm not going to be here this weekend. Ooh. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope to see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye-bye for now.